Hello, gentlemen. This is the state of Cinema 4D 2023 on Apple Silicon or Apple M1 Max or the CPU M1 or the GPU M1, whatever you want to call it. And at the time of recording, we're looking at the version Cinema 4D 2023 0.0, and that is the latest version. So this is a simple scene that I did set up in order for us just to take a look at whatever is new and whatever we are looking at. So let's go ahead to the new layout, which I hate, but again, it's all subjective. That's why you have this option right here at the very top to go back to the old layout that we are all used to when we are using Cinema 4D, and probably that's why Cinema 4D is loved, but that's not the conversation. The viewport is actually working very well. There is no issues with the viewport or whatever that might be. So in terms of performance, we are good to go. And by the way, as you can see on the screen right now, what we are looking at is 64 gigabyte of RAM and the M1 Max GPU and then CPU plus 8 terabyte of storage. So this is the fully specced out M1 Max 16-inch MacBook Pro with 32 core GPU and then 10 core CPU. However, what you should be worried about is if you are using Octane Render and then you do have an Apple M1 based Mac. If you have an Intel based Mac, that might not apply to you, but if you do have an M1 Mac, that might apply to you. So for example, right here, I do have materials here at the bottom. I do have 3 materials. So I do have Octane Glossy, and then I do have Octane Diffuse, and then I do have another Octane Diffuse as well. And then these materials, I usually just bring them right here. So let me bring that material and then put it here. I already did put it, but nothing is showing. Why? Because Octane is not supported by M1, which means if you want to run Octane, if you watch the previous video that I have done for Octane state on the Mac, you need to run it through Rosetta. Now you might ask, well, why not run it through Rosetta and then be good to go? Sadly, I cannot, because Octane X Enterprise, which is for Mac Pro and the one that is running through Rosetta, it actually only supports R21, R22, R23, and R24, and then R25, and it does not support R26, which is supported by M1 natively, or the version 2023, which is the new version. Those two versions sadly are not supported by Octane just yet. They will be updated. Now, if you want to use something that is supported by Apple M1 and supported by Rosetta as well in terms of Octane, you do have R25. However, if you want to run Octane, you run it through Rosetta. If you want to run it natively, you turn off Rosetta. But you do have support for Octane, and that's with R25. For me, my favorite version, R23, comes second after R26. R26, I really love that release, but R23 is the version that I usually use with Octane. And going back right here, as you can see, there are still some glitches. So simply just because I went with the file, and then you do have the error that you can see right here. Like as soon as I move the mouse, it's acting weirdly, and I honestly don't know why is that. So this is another project, and that project is as well being built through Octane, and I guess by now you can see that Octane is my render of choice, and I do have all the stuff when it comes to the materials at the bottom, and as you can see, nothing is showing up. The skin colors are not there as well, and then there are some colors when it comes to the lighting, and I cannot see any of that. So if you are using Octane, this version will not be for you, and you can upgrade to it, but do not do any production on that. Maybe just mess around with it. When it comes to Redshift, however, Redshift is working just fine, because right now Redshift actually supports M1 natively, and that's according to Maxon, and it has been a year since M1 actually support the Redshift render engine, so you'll be good to go. And that's a good thing, because most of the production pipelines right now, they are actually transferring to Redshift, and most customers and clients want Redshift anyway. So if you can learn Redshift and then use Redshift, you will be good to go. Plus, Redshift is actually faster than Octane. However, it needs a little bit more fiddling around. So when I opened this project, it did give me a warning where, oh, you have a lot of VRAM, you need to increase it. So what we will do is we will go to the settings, and then here you do have the standard or physical or viewport render or Redshift. You would choose Redshift. Then from Redshift, we would go to Redshift, then to systems, and then you would increase the bucket size from 128 to 512. And then after that, if you want to, you can here through a Redshift Render or start an APR. And as you can see, the APR is really fast. So as soon as I clicked, it's doing the progressive render down below, but you do have right now a view that you can work with, and I can, if I want, I can unlock it and just remove the camera from here, and then I can zoom in, zoom out, pan, move, position, whatever that might be, and I can do that while having an APR rendering at the same time. However, I can of course start the APR. And one thing you need to keep in mind as well is in terms of a progressive passes, you do have 128. Usually what is recommended is 1024, but when you do that, it will actually take longer to render. However, you will have a better image overall. So that's why it was set at 128, just so I can have a quicker render in general, but it's something for you to be aware of. One of the last things that I want to talk about as well is in terms of settings. So if we go to settings right here, we can go to render and then Redshift. Keep in mind, since R26, you do have the option to render with both the CPU and the GPU, or only the GPU or only the CPU. What I have noticed is if you open the Apple M1 Max GPU and then the CPU together, the performance will not be improved. And if you only do it through Apple M1 Max, only the GPU, it will actually improve the performance and the rendering will be better. And then if you only do standalone CPU and then not the GPU, so only like this, and you want to render everything like that, but probably when you do that, you need to go get married, have children, and then build a family, and then come back. And maybe by then your render have finished, or probably you need to have your children get married, and then after they get married, they would have their own children. Then get back and check on the render. Then maybe by it would be finished. And if all of that went right above your head, what I'm trying to say that the standard CPU device will take forever to render compared to only having the GPU or the GPU and the CPU. However, the best performance that I have noticed is the Apple M1 Max GPU, and then you will be good to go. Now, in terms if you want to see that in a real world scenario or whatever that might be, I believe by the time that you are watching this video, the video in order to do the rendering speed for the CPU versus the GPU for M1 Max is already on the channel. You can check it for Redshift. And if not, it will be released after 2 days from today. So then subscribe so you don't miss that. And this is the state for 2023 Cinema 4D. Now, I do understand that there's a lot of new stuff that we need to mess around with in terms of settings or in terms of geometry or in terms of symmetry or whatever that might be. If there is any questions or concerns, you know how to ask them. And if you want to support the channel, you know how to do that. Aside from that, gentlemen, I wish you a very good day and bye-bye.